I think for a lot of us when we started fishing, we'd go to the tackle shop and we'd see those crankbaits on the shelf and we'd want to fish them. We'd buy them, we'd get them out to the lake, we'd fish them, and we didn't catch anything. We didn't know what to do with them. We didn't know how to fish them, and we were making a bunch of mistakes by throwing those. We didn't have the right equipment. We didn't know what we were doing with those baits. And in today's video, I'm gonna show you 4 mistakes that I think a lot of fishermen are making with their crankbait fishing. And I think this video is gonna really help you put more fish in the boat, and it's gonna definitely get you on the right track fishing crankbaits. The first mistake we're going to talk about is the fact that a lot of people, when they start fishing crankbaits, fish it way too fast. And there are times where you want to burn a crankbait, but a lot of times they want that thing just reeled real slow, just enough to feel that vibration, just enough to know that that bait's getting down into the water. But a lot of people throw that thing out there and they reel it really, really fast, or they have too high a gear ratio reel. I like to throw a 6:3-to-1 gear ratio reel on my crankbaits because it allows me to slow down enough. If I really need to slow down with that 6:3-to-1, I can. But if I'm throwing a higher gear ratio than that, I have a tendency to fish it too fast, and I'm just not as effective. I don't get as many bites that way. I have found that I get a lot more bites when I fish that crankbait nice and slow. I feel it bang off all the cover and the structure that I'm fishing down below. A lot of times I'm going to look for that stuff on my electronics. I'm going to cast over the top of it, and I'm going to bring it down fast to get it down into the depth that I'm trying to target, and then I'm going to slow it down as soon as I start feeling everything on the bottom, and then I'm just waiting to feel that bite, because a lot of times when they eat that crankbait, they're going to eat it really, really good. Just be aware that one of the major mistakes that I see people make is they're just fishing that crankbait way too fast. So the second mistake that we're going to talk about that I see a lot of fishermen make when they're fishing crankbaits is they don't know how deep the crankbait they're fishing is running. You have to know what depth range the crankbait you're fishing is running, because it's no different than a sinker. You're going to put a heavier sinker on if you're going to be fishing deeper, and you have to throw a deeper crankbait if you're fishing deeper. You're going to have to throw a shallower crankbait if you're fishing shallow. Like, for example, this is a 25-foot crankbait. I know when I'm casting this out, it has the potential to get down to 25 feet. Now, there are some things that can change the depth at which this bait is going to get down to, line size, how fast I'm reeling it, stuff like that. But in general, you don't want to be throwing a 10-foot crankbait in 20 foot of water, because you're not going to be hitting anything. You're just going to be going through that water column, not coming in contact with any structure, and you're going to be getting a lot less bites than you would be if you were targeting the correct depth range with the correct crankbait. One of the shots you guys saw a minute ago were my crankbait boxes. I had 3 of them out. I have more than that, and you guys don't need to have that many boxes, but my point is you need to label your boxes appropriately, so that way you know when you go to your tackle box and you're going to pick out a specific crankbait, you know exactly which one you're picking. That's why I have a 10-foot box, I have my 15-foot box, my 20, my 25-foot box. That way when I go to those boxes, I know exactly what depth range that crankbait's going to be running, so that way if I know I'm fishing 25 foot, I'm going to go to my Cloud9 C25 box. If I'm fishing 10-foot structure, I'm going to go to my Cloud9 C10, and so on. So that way you know exactly what crankbait you need for the conditions that you're fishing. Even when you're fishing crankbaits, there's times when you're going to want to be able to see into the water. For example, I was out at the lower Colorado River. Water's fairly clear there, and I could see the bottom in the areas that I was fishing. The bluegills were on beds, and I could see different little beds all over the place, and I thought to myself, that might be bluegill beds. So I put on a bluegill colored crankbait, and I was able to start fishing, and as soon as I did that, I started catching fish. So little things like that a good pair of polarized sunglasses, like a pair of Waterlands, are going to help you see into the water. It's going to give you little bits of clues that might key you in on something that's going to make a big difference in your day. So make sure that when you go fishing, you have a great pair of polarized sunglasses. They are not all equal, and you're going to want to use a good pair, like a pair of Waterlands. I have a discount code for you guys that you guys can use to save some money. The discount code is Luna15. So go to waterlandcode.com, check out the sunglasses, their apparel, all kinds of awesome stuff on the website, and use my discount code Luna15. It's going to save you 15% off, and you're going to get free shipping as well, over 50 bucks. There's one. There we go. Got one. Good one. Get in the boat. There we go. There we go. 25-foot crankbait right there, guys. Crankbaits will catch them, guys. They catch good ones. Nice little summertime bass right there in the afternoon. There we go. We gotta love that. So much fun catching them on crankbaits, guys. So much fun. So mistake number 3 that we're going to talk about that fishermen make when fishing crankbaits is they have too heavy a line on their reel. And what that does is it doesn't let the crankbait get down to the correct depth. If you have too heavy a line on there, you might pick out a 25-foot crankbait, but it doesn't ever get down to 25 foot. So you might be trying to fish a rock pile in 25 foot or 23 foot or something like that, and you never actually feel that rock pile. And that's because you don't have light enough line on there. You're not letting that crankbait get down there because of that resistance, the thickness of that line. It's not letting that crankbait get down to depth. The heaviest line that I use when I crank is 15-pound test, and I use that only on my 25 footers, and I've been considering going down to 12 for those as well, just to get a little bit more depth out of them. But otherwise, I'm throwing 12-pound tests on pretty much every other crankbait that I have. So another mistake that I see a lot of fishermen make when fishing a crankbait is that they don't have the right rod for the job. They're not throwing the right rod on their deep diving crankbaits, they're not throwing the right rod on their shallow diving crankbaits, they're probably using too stiff of a rod. And what that does is it doesn't allow that crankbait to have the action that you want to have, doesn't let it get down to depth, and you're not going to be able to feel everything like you want to feel. You don't want a super sensitive rod because you might feel that bite too soon. The rod might not load up the right way. You want to have a mod fast action rod, and I highly recommend getting a specific crankbait rod when you're fishing crankbaits. The rods that I'm using out on the water are the ESP rods from 6 Sense or the Lux models. I'm using the ESP 7'9" crankbait rod when I'm fishing my 6-foot divers, my 10-foot divers, maybe even my 15-footers. Then I go up to the 711 Cloud 9 Lux model. It's a 7'11" crankbait rod. That's what I'm using for my 15 and 20 footers. And then when it gets to those big 25-foot crankbaits, the Cloud 9 C25s, I'm going to be using the 8-foot Lux crankbait rod. All right, so I got a bonus tip for everybody. Retie your crankbaits a lot. If you're fishing a crankbait in the right places, you're gonna get nicks in your line, it's gonna get roughed up a little bit, and if you're not retying often, you're gonna end up losing fish, you're gonna end up losing baits, you're gonna come up over a rock, you're gonna hit a little branch, and that thing's gonna break off because you had a nick in your line. You're gonna get that fish after fishing hard and looking for those bites, you're gonna get that bite and that fish is gonna break you off because you didn't retie. So make sure to pay attention to your line a lot and make sure to retie often. So guys, crankbait fishing doesn't have to be as difficult as it seems. You don't have to go out there and spend a ton of money to get going in crankbait fishing, but you need to have some of the right equipment. You need to have the right bait for the right scenario. You need to have the right line. The right rod is very key, and I think having a 6:3-to-1 or lower gear ratio reel is very important as well. All that stuff can be bought in time, but follow the stuff that I talked about in this video. Make sure to retie and all the other different mistakes that we talked about in this video, and it's gonna make you a lot better crankbait fisherman. For more content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and then I also got a playlist that you guys can watch, so click it on the screen right now, and then also YouTube has a video that they think you're gonna like up on the screen right now as well, and I hope to see you guys next time. See ya.